Okay. So I'm kind of, again, my Zoom is being a little weird, so I'm hoping that these three applicants are on the call right now. I can't, I'm trying to check if they're on here. Um, but essentially we invited three of the four applicants from last year to speak at this webinar. There's again the winner from this year for the Cameroon grant, who's studying cross-regional insights into CBD risk factors using the new Essential Eight framework. That is Abane Ebanweze. There's Abby Vigderman, who is a neuroscience PhD student who applied to study in France and was a semifinalist. And then there's Matt Suzor, who is a JD student who applied to study in Denmark. So, uh, if are any of you on the call right now?
I am Abby. I
Yep,
don't.
I
Yeah.
am too. It's Matt.
Okay.
I am too, Abane.
Oh, that's
Okay.
funny. You guys are showing up both as Nick.
As are you.
I was wondering why there were like four Nick Cortinas on the call.
Okay, that's weird. I think it's because, you know what? I think it's because I sent you guys the link that was specifically my link. So for some reason it's showing up as you. So that's my bad. There's not four with me on the call. But in any case, I don't know if we want to start. We do have actually more time than I was thinking we might have at this point. So I don't know if we want to go around and at first kind of talk about how you decided on your specific award and what were the factors that went into that decision. I don't know if Abby, if you want to start.
Sure. So I ended up choosing, so I knew I wanted to do the research one because I'm now a fifth year PhD student and didn't really have an interest in anything else. And then I ended up choosing France because I saw the email for the Focus on Fulbright, and I sort of thought if I was going to do it, what labs would fit. And I based it more on either people that my PI knows, or people that I've interacted with that are in different countries, and then sort of brought a short list to my PI, and he picked one out of the three that seemed like the best fit, and that's the one that I went with. And then from there, reached out to our contact there, and so that's how I ended up on France. It really didn't have anything to do with specifically wanting to be in France. It was more because the researcher that I wanted to work with was there or is there.
Okay, awesome. Matt?
Sure. Yeah, let me see if I can turn on my camera. Hey, everyone. So I chose Denmark. Re I recognized that I had a connection there. I had been there maybe three times. It's where I studied abroad, and I knew that at least in my personal statement, I could capture that relationship. I also knew that if you have some kind of tangibility there, A, it's easier to write about, and B, it's looked upon more favorably. Nations want to know that you'll be a good fit in their home, and as does the State Department. They want to know that you're going to be a good ambassador, and if you can demonstrate that over time, that's a good fit. And so I had kind of a weird global view where I was wanting to write amicus briefs, so kind of useful briefs to be used in court in Costa Rica, where I'd done some research, and same with Malawi. And then my connection with Denmark there was just a little bit more tangent. It was just like this country's really good at environmental stuff, so let me learn from the best. And yeah, it wasn't too hard to write after that.
Great. And then finally, Abanye. Sorry if I'm
Abane,
if I'm
hi, how are you?
good.
Um,
How are you?
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you,
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
congrats.
thanks. So Cameroon, I picked Cameroon. I am first generation. So both of my parents were immigrants from Cameroon. So I do have descendant ties from there, but I was born here in New York. So I thought that this would be an awesome opportunity to kind of connect with my roots. And so that's one of the reasons why I decided to do Cameroon. Also, I did go there for a 2 week stint back in 2017 with my parents for the first time ever. And I did see a lot of health issues. Like there were a lot of things that I saw though I didn't really expect to see. And so that piqued my interest to learn a little bit more. Also, I did a little bit of a literature review, didn't really find a lot of updated info. So that's kind of where my interest kind of stemmed from. But I have studied abroad before, and I figured this is my third time around. Let me pick somewhere that I know is not going to be as comfortable, and will really kind of push me to the edge and see what I'm made of because it's not a first world country. It's very different. And so I wanted to experience that.
Great. When do you start, by the way? When is your
Uh,
program?
so actually, I will be leaving if everything works out, because there's a lot of pre-departure things that have to go through before I'm even allowed to go. But if everything works out, I should be leaving December.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, congratulations again.
thank you.
Um, yeah, to go on to another question, do you have any tips or tricks for writing the statement of grant purpose? Like I said, I know you you all had to write two different essays. Now they've changed it to just be this one essay. Um, so it might be a little bit different, but do you have any tips or tricks for that specific essay of the statement of grant purpose? And we can just go in the same order.
So the feedback that I got when I first was sending it around is, just keep it simple, definitely for a general audience. So, try to minimize jargon that you're using and really just hone in on your message and why it's important. And if you can tie it to the country, that's even better. Like the project that I was going to do was with like one of the best researchers in the world in looking at a disease that was discovered in France. And so there were like a lot of specific ties to France. So I think that was good. And then, yeah, just trying to keep it simple and showing that, it's really a worthwhile project that's, valuable.
My recommendations are probably not that Fulbright centric, but the first is tight writing. You have 2 pages. You don't have a lot of room to kind of go off on tangents. There's a lot that you're going to want to convey, especially if you are losing that personal statement. So if you know particularly good writers, use them. I use my brother. He's the best writer I've ever met. So I was a pain in his backside. And then the other is use the templates. We have a pretty decent repository of templates, and I looked at one of the successful ones, and we even there's a girl from Maryland, not Maryland, Baltimore, who went to Denmark, and I really mirrored her format, and I thought that was useful for me, and it turned into an okay essay.
Great.
Yeah, for me, so there's a lot of stuff that they do want you to fit into a two-page essay. And so for me, I know I just kind of used all the questions or the things that they wanted us to make sure was in the essay. And I just kind of put that on a Word doc. And then I just went ahead and answered each question, made sure that each piece that they wanted in there was in there. And then I kind of crafted my essay. I also used my sister because my little sister, she was actually a Fulbright scholar as well. And she went to France. So I also had her look at it because she had been a previous Fulbrighter, and then I would just say once you have all of that together, then for me, I had to make it smaller. So like I had like 2.5 pages, and I had to figure out how to crunch it down and like really put the things that would make my essay more compelling. So um, I think you're gonna probably have more of an issue with making sure that it's 2 pages and you haven't gone over. So
Yeah. Um, I think that's a great suggestion, though. I think just to write, kind of brain dump everything and then see how you can kind of fit into those 2 pages. I think it's always easier to cut than to add, that's kind of my point of view. I will also say on this writing um, point that we are working with the Writing Center at UMB now to hopefully develop kind of some modules. that are Fulbright specific because the uh, assistant director of the Writing Center is actually a Fulbright student alum himself. So we had a conversation last week about how we can do that. So that's something coming up too that can hopefully be very helpful in terms of writing. Um, and then the third question is, I know there's often a lot of angst about getting the affiliation letter. So what was your guys' process for that?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely having a connection through my PI. And so he was able to reach out and start that process. And then we basically had a Zoom call. It was pretty quick, honestly. It was like a one call that took about an hour, and they were just sort of like, "Yep, sounds good. Let's go for it." I think it's probably a lot harder if you are making that connection yourself. And unfortunately, I have no help. I can't provide any feedback for that.
For me, I knew the school that I wanted to do back where I had studied abroad all those years ago at U Copenhagen. I looked at their different programs and I reached out to the professor who I thought would be the best fit. She also happened to be the department head. And it took 3 emails to hear back from her. And, on emails 2 and 3, I was a little apologetic. Sorry to keep bothering you. I know that you're busy, yada, yada, yada. And then she comes back and says she's just too busy. But I was lucky she recommended another professor who I then reached out to and sent 3 other emails to, every time a little bit apologetic, and heard back. She was not particularly responsive, but eventually we had a Zoom, and which was really cool. And that was a great experience. So I guess the lesson there is, persistence, but, not rude persistence.
Yeah, so my letter of affiliation, that it was a difficult thing for me. So there was a part of Cameroon that I wanted to be in, which is the Southwest area. And so I had a couple of connections there. However, um, after getting that connection, introducing myself to them because I found them through another friend, um, and kind of got everything, the ball rolling. Then I get a email from the embassy saying that because there's a travel advisory there, I cannot go there. I cannot do my study abroad there. So then I had to totally like redo and reach out to new people in another part of the country that was not on travel advisory. And it was a lot harder. And I ended up having to reach out to like 4 or 5 people until finally I was able to come across 2 people that were willing to write me a letter of recommendation. And then luckily for me, they kind of knew each other and they said, okay, I think he would be the better person to write that letter of recommendation. And so that's how that kind of came about. But I was this close to just like forget it because, having to kind of start back at square one because of that whole situation, it was kind of frustrating. But so, yeah.
Sure. Well, I'm
Mhm.
glad you persevered because that is very frustrating. But last question is just if you guys have any other kind of general tips or tricks or anything else you want to say about the process.
I mean, I will say so I was a semifinalist and then I was a non-select. So I mean, you really don't know why, if you don't get it, why you don't get it. And especially this year, it was really nerve-wracking with the extra DEI check that they did. So you really don't know why. So yeah, I mean, if you don't get it, don't feel too bad because, I think there's always a lot of really great people. Other advice, yeah, I mean, it sounds like other people, or just to echo what other people said, but if you have somebody who you think is especially good at giving you feedback, do that. I also reached out to my undergrad, Fulbright or like their international thing because I know they had a really high success rate with Fulbrights and they were able to give me some extra feedback that I thought was super helpful. So if you have any like connections from undergrad or what like whoever or if you know somebody, it sounds like having the connection in the writing center is going to be really helpful. I think those sorts of details um make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd echo Abby's point about the tricks of this year with the DEI issues. There have been rumblings that people who would have been accepted otherwise didn't get those grants. So that's not to say be dishonest about who you are in your application, nor choose solely based off of that, but have conversations with Nick, because I'm sure Nick will have his finger on the pulse of the news. And if it is proven that they are turning away candidates based off of their grant proposals, then it's a lot of work. So be careful there. But again, be honest on the application, and if your program is directed towards that, then maybe don't deviate from that completely. The other, I suppose, didn't chat enough about getting affiliation letters, or not affiliation letters, getting recommendations from your professors. I would say do that early. I was good with one of my professors about doing that early, and then probably didn't give the other quite as much time as I would have liked, and offered to write them for them, do a draft, because you know yourself better than they know you. You know what you want them to capture, and it's less work for them, so they'll be happier about that. And then I'm sure they'll edit and whatnot. But yeah.
I would also say that if you're doing like an actual human subjects project, to reach out and talk to people from your IRB, and just to make sure that you're following the guidelines at UMB and you're also meeting like the minimum guidelines in that country. There are discrepancies depending on which country you're in. The guidelines and the rules that they abide by might be a little different. So just make sure that everything is kind of coalescing the way it needs to, so that you don't get in trouble. And you're just kind of following the rules. Because if not, I have been told that people have gone abroad, they've done these studies, and they weren't able to bring anything back. And that would be sad if you couldn't disseminate any of that after putting all that energy and effort. So I feel like that was really eye-opening for me. Mhm.
Great. Well, thank you three so much. I'm so excited that we actually had people we could have on the call that can speak directly about their experience applying, because we haven't had that before. And I'm hopeful that your insights and experience will help people applying for this next cycle to be successful. So thank you again. And so to close it off, I just wanted to know if anyone on the call had any questions. We have about like 7 minutes left. So if you have any questions for me or any of the three past applicants, just you can unmute and let us know.
Oh, I guess I'll also make one more point if no one has any questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on the Fulbright Slack a lot and looking around on the internet, and obviously it should be about what is like the best fit for you. But I know there are certain countries, like from what I read, France is like particularly competitive. Like there are a lot more applicants. So if you're sort of like choosing between two countries, like and there's a different number of applications, and you can look up all of those statistics like just purely from a probability standpoint. I think that's like sort of a practical choice that you can make that will sort of help you if you're trying to choose between a couple of different options.
Yeah, I will. I didn't go over that part of the website because I think they're still updating it for this past round, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that is a consideration. Again, you shouldn't really pick just solely based off the statistics, but if you are kind of deciding between two different countries, that can be a really helpful factor. Does anyone else have any questions or comments or anything? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I'll be sure to send the recording out to everyone after the call. I think we had a lot of people that registered but weren't able to join. So I'll send the recording out to them and to you all, and I really hope that we can get a good batch of applicants this time around too.
Looks like there is a question.
Oh, okay. Sorry, let me unshare my screen because I think that is causing me to not see that.
It was just put up. So it says, to the DEI comment, how did this affect your application process? It didn't happen until after we had already applied.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have no idea, at least for the people who didn't get it. We have no idea why we didn't get it. They didn't give a reason. I did see that there was at least one country commission that emailed applicants directly after they had gotten the non-select and said, well, you were accepted, which basically meant the country probably rejected them because of DEI reasons. But that was like one example or a couple of examples. So we really don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, we're really kind of navigating this for the first time. It's unfortunate not to get too political, but um, yeah, I think there'll be probably some guidance from other Fulbright program advisors that have done this for a long time about how to approach that, and um, I'll be sure to be on the lookout for that. But yeah, it is kind of an unprecedented part of the process that they had at this time. So to be upfront about that, that is something to be considerate of this time around. Yeah, did anyone have any other questions? Okay, well, thank you again. Thank you, all of the three Nick Cortinas that joined. I'm sorry that that was a weird glitch, but thank you for sharing your experience and your insights about the application process. And like I said to everyone else watching, you can email me, look at our website, just get in touch with me however you want if you're interested in applying. So thank you again, and yeah, have a great rest of your evening, everyone.
Good luck, everyone.